It's Dr. Ferguson coming to you live from Gates County Nursing Home down east, and we're talking with Bishop at the 970 Radio out of Husky, North Carolina. And want to welcome all of you joining us on the World Wide Web. We do this weekly from 9:30 to 10, and we talk about something that's preventive health. As we're doing today, we're talking about the Mediterranean diet and how that can be helpful in a preventive healthcare lifestyle. So that's our goal for today. And again, we want to welcome all of you who are joining us on the World Wide Web. As we're moving forward, and you're setting your goals, get your paper, get your pen. And when you set those goals, write down, initially just kind of write down all the things you want to do. And you just write down, don't stop and think, just kind of write. And then go back and reassess. Okay, is this realistic? Is this realistic? Okay, is this something that I can accomplish? And then you go back and you kind of modify those goals and you work from there. Now, if you can accomplish, the other side of this coin, when you talk about doing things in Christ, if you can accomplish it yourself, well, then you don't need Christ. So that's where your goals might be a little more outreaching if you're going to stand on faith that God's going to help you move through that process. But that's a whole nother concept of writing the goals. You still need to have those goals that you're going to accomplish. You're going to eat different. You're going to exercise more. You're going to go to bed early. You're going to drink more water. You're going to get along better with your colleagues at work. You're going to have a better relationship with your kids or with your wife. You're going to have date day with your wife. Those types of goals that you can accomplish. And then you go back in a week or two, you check them off. Oh, I got this one done. So add another goal. Once you knock it off, add another goal. If weight loss is the goal. 5 pounds, a pound a day. A pound a week, 5 pounds a month, a pound a day, a pound a week, 5 pounds a month, 15 pounds for 3 months, and then 30 pounds for 6 months, 60 pounds in a year is a good weight loss pattern. Every time you lose 10% of your total body weight, you're going to have a dramatic effect in your blood pressure and your blood sugars, and you're also going to feel better. So again, those are another set of goals that you set, but the purpose behind setting goals is you got to write them down. You got to put them where you can see them, put them in your wallet, put them on the refrigerator, put them on your mirror or your bathroom. And you have to keep reassessing, am I meeting my goals? And don't try to keep it in your head. I can't think of a single person in the last 20 years in my medical practice that had a goal of losing weight and refused to write down their goals that had success. I can't think of one, not one. And, early on, I used to do a lot with weight loss and weight management, but I found that my success rate was so low because people just weren't doing what they're supposed to do. Speaking about weight loss and weight management, and you need to have a habit. It takes 21 days, 21 Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, 21 weeks. 21 is kind of a magic number. Some people say 21, some people say 28, of doing it in a row to develop a habit. Once you have a habit, now you're going to do it when you don't feel like doing it. And that's so important. If you're going to do exercise, if you're going to eat a certain way, if you're going to go to bed a certain time, you're going to skip certain TV programs, you're going to drink more water. Once you've developed a habit, now you're much more likely to do it when you don't feel like doing it. So a statement I often make is you're going to do it long after the good feeling you had when you made the promise to yourself is gone. So it's easy when you're around somebody, they're talking to you about it, or talking to right now, those of you listening to this. This is kind of like a hot bath. So we're encouraging you, we're challenging you, you say, okay, I'm going to do it. And in 2 days from now, you're not doing anything. So this is important. That's why you got to write it down. You go back, look at it, refresh the memory. And we do things in life because our why is big enough. Okay, so you got to have a why in the midst of these goals. Why do you want to lose weight? Why do you want to eat better? Why do you want to get better sleep? Why do you want to be nicer to your wife? Why do you want to have date day with your wife? Why do you want to go to your kid's basketball game? The why is important. And if you don't have a why, you're not going to be successful. Why don't you go in Walmart and take everything you want? Okay, there's a negative why there. You'll get locked up. Why don't you speed through town at 100 miles an hour? Okay, another negative why. You might like to sometimes, but that's another negative why. Okay, but why eat a whole big bowl of ice cream? Okay, that's a positive why, at least initially, because you like the way it tastes, but then you might not like the results. You might start getting high cholesterol. You might start getting overweight and things like that. But again, we do things in life because of a why. Nothing's going to happen unless you got a why. Why'd you put on what you have on today? Why did you put that on? Maybe you liked it. Maybe it's the only thing you had available. Maybe everything else was dirty. Okay, those are whys. So those are why reasons we do things, and everything in life is going to have a why. So as you're writing down your goals, you need to have a why, because if you don't have a why, you're probably not going to be successful at it. That make sense?
It does. It does.
Yeah, and I talk about this all the time when I'm talking with my patients in my substance abuse clinic, and they're coming and they're wanting to get off narcotics and wanting to, get off the drugs. But, I tell them, why do you want to do it? Are you here because you want to be here? Are you here because your family chased you here? Are you here because you got to go to jail? You're on probation. They're getting ready to take your kids. Why are you here? And is that why going to be big enough to get you to do what you said you're going to do long after the good feeling you had when you said it's gone? That's very, very important. We do things because of a why. And why do you go to work every day? No, because a lot of you go to work just because you need to make money to pay the house note, the gas bill, and all those other things. Not because you want to be there, but it's a mean to an end. Okay, it's a whole lot nicer when you go to work every day because you really enjoy doing that. And then the money's a bonus because you enjoy what you're doing, and now you're just getting paid for doing what you enjoy doing. So that's a much better bonus when you look at it that way. But the why is still there. You still have to live. You still have a light bill, gas bill, mortgage, car note, gas in the car. And if you don't go to work, you don't get those luxuries. Now, I was looking at some pictures just last night from when I was doing some missionary work in Kenya, Africa. And boy, it just sort of brings back so many memories on the poverty that we just take for granted here in the United States.
Yes, we do.
I mean, the average person I took care of when I was in Kenya, Africa, made about $300 a year. And $300 a year might equate to maybe $6,000 a year here, maybe $8,000. But nevertheless, it was still not nearly enough for them to get most of the amenities that they needed. And so it was very, most patients we took care of the hospital, walked to the hospital. Almost no one had a car. Many of them didn't have shoes. They would come to the hospital often malnourished because they hadn't been eating well. A lot of times they didn't have clean drinking water. And so people were dying of things like diarrhea, dysentery problems. And that's almost unheard of here in the United States because we have antibiotics, we have medicines to treat it with. But over there, a lot of times they don't. And, they're bathing in the same water that they're drinking. They're drinking the same water that the cows are walking through. And so you potentially have lots of places for contamination. You're playing, the kids are out playing in the dirt in the same place that somebody may have gone to the bathroom a month earlier, just outside. So the conditions were not good. And I was looking at some of the pictures, and I was looking, we were in a little town called Bomet, which was where the Tenwood Hospital was. And not much was there. They had couple little shops, couple little shanty kind of shops. And just the conditions were just so different. And those here in the United States just don't understand how blessed they are.
That is so true. I can agree with that.
The poorest of the poorest people that we're interacting with here in the U.S. would be wealthy compared to those I took care of in Kenya, Africa. But anyway, it was a great experience, and we learned a lot. And I think the time we were there, we were able to be helpful. But the point I'm bringing up is, we have to set goals if we want to make a change in our lives. If you don't like where you're at, if you don't like the job you have, if you don't like what you're doing, make some goals. Then maybe you need more education. Maybe you need to go back to school and learn a new trade. Maybe you need to take up a hobby that can take up some of your free time, so you're not taking your free time and doing something negative with it. Goals can be associated with anything. It doesn't have to be anything specific. It's whatever's important to you goes on that goal sheet. So if it's important to you that you wash your car once a week, put it on the goal sheet. That's fine. Some people don't want to wash the car once a week, but maybe that's one of your goals. So they're your goals. Remember, they're not my goals. They're not anybody else's goals. They're your goals. So whatever's on your goal sheet is the kind of things that you'll go after, the kind of things that you'll try to put into your routine. So I thought it was always important, as we've been talking some about the Mediterranean diet, but setting goals. Setting goals. We talk about eating healthy. Well, what's your goals? I mean, are you just going cold turkey? Go from eating red meat and junk food every day to eating healthy? Probably not. It's kind of hard to go cold turkey on things like that. But if you've really made up your mind to do that, you can. In 1983, or 4. I took a nutrition elective when I was in medical school, and cold turkey, I changed my eating habits because I learned about some of the fats and some of the sugars and things like that. And cold turkey, I stopped eating red meat. I put the salt shaker down. I put the sugar down, and the white flour, white sugar, white flour, and white rice. Any of those things, all those things are bleached. And when they're bleached, that means it started out at more of maybe a dark brown or a dusty looking color. And so they bleach those things to make them more appealing to the eye. And once they bleach them, well, they take out nutrients. And so then you'll see on the label, you might see the term bleached, and then you might see the term fortified. So what happens is they bleach the product, they take out nutrients and make it nice and white, make it look nice and appealing. And then they try to put back what was already in there. And that's what they call fortified.
And that's not as good as what it was originally.
How could it possibly be as good as God made it in the first place? Now, understand that some of your products are going to be deficient, particularly if they're grown in the same soil that's been grown in over and over and over, because the soil becomes deficient in some nutrients. This is why it's important that you have supplements as part of your routine, because the way in which your foods are grown, the place in which your foods are grown, over the years have probably grown deficient in some of the vitamins and minerals that you may need. So that's where vitamins and mineral supplementation comes into the equation. But we'll talk about that again on a later program. Writing goals, setting a foundation on how you're going to move forward with success. Everything I'm saying is based on let's have success. Let's have a successful life. I get after people all the time. They say, I'm not sick. Why do I need to go to the doctor? Well, preventive health is much better than waiting until you get sick. If you can prevent the hypertension, if you can prevent the diabetes, if you can prevent the Alzheimer's disease, if you can prevent the stroke, wouldn't that be much better than waiting till you get it and then trying to treat it?
Indeed it would.
Yeah, I think it would be. And, some of these things may not be preventable, but maybe they are. And environment plays a big, big part. Sure, genetic plays a part, but I think genetic plays far less of a part than what we try to make it out to be sometimes. A lot of times people have diabetes, they have hypertension, and they want to blame genetics. Oh, everybody in my family is diabetic. Everybody in my family got hypertension. Well, is it genetic or is it environmental? Because if you flip that coin, everybody in your family eats the same way. Everybody in your family gets mad about the same things. Everybody in your family is suffering from many of the same stresses. So was it environment or was it genetic? And that can be a hard question to answer sometime. But I challenge all of you who are trying to hide behind the crutch that you knew you were going to become diabetic because everybody in your family is diabetic. I challenge you that's not so. The environment and diet play the big role. We had a lot of heart disease, high blood pressure in my father's generation, but none of my brothers have diabetes or hypertension. So was it genetic or was it environmental? Okay, so again, I challenge you to, before you go blaming and suggest, so everybody in my family's got this, or everybody in my family's overweight, or everybody in my family's got this. I challenge you to say, is it environmental or is it genetic? I often think of that little story about the ham, when the granddaughter asked the mother why she cut the end off the ham, and the mother says she doesn't know, and they asked the grandmother, why you cut the end off the ham. Does that make it better? Make it taste better? And the grandmother's response was that was the biggest pot she had. Okay.
It wouldn't fit.
So
that ham wouldn't fit in one small pot.
So the ham that she had to cut the end off because that's the biggest pot it could fit in.
Yeah.
And so was that environmental or was that genetic?
That's environmental.
It's clearly environmental, but people do things many times and they chalk it up to genetic when it's really environmental. They've done studies where they've taken kids that were adopted and they raised them by maybe an obese kid and they raised them by a slender family, or maybe a slender family and they raised them by an obese family. And they found whatever way the parents are is what way the kid ends up. So that kid was adopted. So was that genetic or was that environmental? I wager to again say that was environmental. And many, many, many things that we want to blame on genetics are environmental. It's an easy thing to hide behind. It's easy thing to say, oh, everybody in my family's overweight. So it's easy reason to say, okay, that's why I'm overweight, so I can't do anything about it. Many times people are using that as a cop-out way of reasoning why they're not going to do something about where they are. And again, if you don't make a decision to do something, you're not. And so I challenge my patients all the time. The older a person gets, the less likely they are to do anything about their weight. So for all of you who are getting older each day, every time you get older each day, you're less likely to do anything about your weight. And particularly after you get over 60, you're much less likely to do anything about your weight. At 40 is actually a number. Many people won't do anything after 40, but under 40, we probably got a fighting chance that they might do something about their weight. But once it gets past there, usually not. That's been my experience. And again, I've got a lot of years of experience working with this topic. Again, we're coming to you live on the internet as well as on the radio here, coming to you out of Husky and out of Windsor, North Carolina. Not Windsor, but Gates County, North Carolina. And welcome all of you on the radio. You can join us. You can go by my website at AskDrFerguson.com. In the middle of the page, you'll see an icon. It says live radio. Click on that. That'll take you to the YouTube site, at which time you'll see a little house in the left-hand corner. Click on the little house and then click on live feed. You probably want to turn your radio down when you do that because you'll get a feedback. And those of you who have you joining us on the World Wide Web, don't forget to tell your friends, come join us each week. And those of you who are on the web as well as at home, we do archive all the ones that we do. So you can find those at youtube.com/user/AskDrFerguson. So all of the programs that have been able to tape successfully, you'll be able to find there. And there's a lot of them there, but a lot of them haven't taped successfully because, again, here in the country, we're many times dealing with a tough internet connection. That's one of the challenges that you have when you're in the country is your internet connection. People in the city don't even have a clue of what that's like, because they turn on their computer and bam, it's moving. Here you turn on a computer, sometimes it's almost like dial-up. You have to look at your computer and see, is it really on? So that's one of the challenges here in the country. But again, we try to give information that you can utilize immediately. And we're not trying to eliminate your healthcare provider. You need to see your healthcare provider because everything we're talking is preventive health. And your healthcare provider is the one that's going to help you keep your preventive health in check. There's some patients I may see once a year at their insistence, but again, they'll come in that once a year, hopefully, and they'll get their yearly exam done. They'll get their chest x-ray, the EKG, blood work, things like that, because preventive health is the key. Even the younger people, you need to know what your cholesterol is. You need to know what your hemoglobin is. You need to know those things. You need to know what your kidney function is. Because these kind of things can sneak up on you. Before you know it, you may have a kidney failure or the kidneys that are going downhill, and you never even knew you were sick. Hypertension is the most common reason for kidney failure in the U.S., and then diabetes is right there running neck and neck on the second. I frequently tell people, as a quick side note, I had an uncle who was a globetrotter and a professional athlete and always healthy and always exercising, but he wouldn't do anything about his blood pressure. And he ended up having a kidney failure and ended up on dialysis, et cetera. And then, for the not the majority, but the ending part of his life was kind of a miserable time for him because he simply wouldn't take care of his blood pressure. He thought by exercising and eating healthy, that was going to be enough, and it wasn't. And so for all of you that feel like you're exercising and eating healthy, that might not be enough. If your blood pressure is high or if your sugars are becoming out of control, all of those are going to be negatives on your kidney. And if that lasts for long enough, then you'll end up with kidney failure. And kidney failure leads to dialysis. That leads to 3 times a week going to a machine and getting your blood clean and waiting on the list for a kidney. And then you finally get a kidney and maybe it goes well, maybe it doesn't. So it leads to a life of that's very challenging if that were to happen. So I challenge all of you to get your exams, work with your healthcare provider. Don't say because you're healthy, you don't need to have it done. It's always very sad for me when I see a person hadn't seen a doctor in 20 years, and first time I see them, you find some kind of cancer, and that cancer could have maybe been prevented if they were having their yearly exams, or not. Maybe it wasn't prevented. Maybe we catch it early. We catch it early. Maybe we get a cure. Catch it late. Maybe we don't. So those are always issues that I challenge people for. Doesn't look like we even got to the Mediterranean diet, did we, Bishop? We're just moving along here.
Yeah, one thing led to another.
Right. So for those of you who are expecting the Mediterranean diet today, just make sure you join us next week, and we'll try to hit it and hit it a little harder, hit it a little better than we did this week. We did a lot of kind of jumping around this week, but I think there were important points that we're jumping around with.
Yeah.
And re-emphasizing, writing down your goals is critically important if you're going to have success at anything. They did a study at one of the Ivy League schools, and the study was done years ago, and they evaluated the graduating class, and they asked how many of the graduating class wrote down their goals, and 3% said they wrote down their goals. They evaluated that same graduating class 30 years later, and they found that the 3% that said they routinely write down their goals had 97% of all the wealth. That 3% had 97% of the wealth. So I always find that to be pretty significant.
Yeah.
And what does it imply that they write down their goals? It implies they're more organized, they're more structured, they're working from a budget, they're not just doing helter skelter. That's what it implies to me, and you can see the results. If that 3% had more wealth than the other 97% combined, and we're talking about an Ivy League graduating class, which you could assume that all of them probably went on to have reasonably good jobs, but 3% had more wealth than the other 98, was the 3% that said they routinely wrote down goals. So you cannot minimize the importance of routinely writing down goals. Sometimes I'm a little slack on writing my goals down, and things don't go smooth when I do write my goals down. So working from a to-do list is always a good thing to do. Maybe you make your to-do list at night on the way to bed. Maybe you make it in the morning. But working from a to-do list, or keeping your phone handy, keeping your pad handy, and things pops in your mind that need to get done, and you put them in your to-do list. Maybe you want to even get a little more fancy. You can make a to-do list and divide it into 4 quarters. And one of those quarters means very important, it has to get done today. Then another one of those quarters is very important, but doesn't have to get done today. Another one of those quarters doesn't have to get done today, but important. And another, that last quarter, doesn't have to get done today and not important. And you can put your to-do list in those quadrants. And you know the stuff that has to get done today and important, that's in that first quadrant. And then that bottom quadrant is going to be stuff that's not important and doesn't have to get done today. And so that, for those of you who are going to live by a to-do list and work using it on a daily basis, that's one way you could do that. And that can be very helpful. But there's lots of books on this. There's lots of topics on this. You could go to the internet and say how to become better organized, how to become better structured, how to make a to-do list, how to make a goal list. Those things are really invaluable. I can wager to say to you that the most successful people are your busiest people, and the people that work from goal lists and people that work from lists. I would challenge you that that's the case. And through my life and those I've met and interacted with, those that I've found to be most successful in life are usually people that are very goal-oriented, write down their goals, write down to-do lists, and have a much more of a structure than a helter-skelter type of life. Had a patient just yesterday, in my substance abuse program. He said, "Well, doc, I'm making lots of money now, and I got a pocket full of money, and I'm not throwing it away, but then I don't have, I just go spend too much on this, and I spend too much on that." Again, he doesn't have goals. He doesn't have budget set down. So he was throwing his money away on drugs, and now he's saving all the money he was throwing away on drugs, but now he's still not structured enough to spend it wisely, to save some, put some in tithes, put some in retirement, pay some bills, do some things you want to do with some of the discretionary income. But right now he sees his whole wad of money as discretionary income. And it's not. It has an allocation to it, but because he doesn't have goals, because he doesn't have a budget he's working from, because he doesn't have a to-do list he's working from, although he's getting off of drugs, he's still turning in circles in reference to his finances because he hasn't structured the way they're going to be utilized. So again, emphasizing how important it is to write down goals, work from a to-do list.
And again, every now and then go back and review those goals.
Absolutely. And not just every now and then. I would suggest at least every 2 weeks that you go back and look at them. Maybe if you're having a hard time, maybe you look at it every day and go back and look at it. But keep them in front of your eyes that you can see them. You can begin to continue to reassess them. And again, for those who are joining us, I always want to let you know you can always reach us at the office at 252-332-6484. You can call and make an appointment. We're always happy to see new patients. We have a family practice, and we do a lot of natural hormone therapy. We do a lot with weight loss, weight management. Alzheimer's disease is one of my favorite things we like to talk about and like to work with. And then you can catch us on the web at AskDrFerguson.com. Catch us on YouTube at youtube.com/user/AskDrFerguson. There's lots of other places you can find me on the internet as well. If you just type in Stephen Ferguson in the Google browser, or Stephen Ferguson MD, or Ask Dr. Ferguson, any of those will take you to multiple different places that I have things online. And a lot of you know I'm into photography, so if you go to photomedoc.com, you'll find a photo site. If you go to facebook.com and type in Ask Dr. Ferguson. You'll see more of my photos. So there's lots of places you can find me. You can find things out about what we're doing and what we're interested in. But we're always happy to see new patients. So we encourage you to call us, set an appointment, see us. And if you're happy with your healthcare provider, by all means, don't change. Stay with that healthcare provider.
Okay.
All right. Well, on that note, to our listening audience locally and throughout the world, I'd say be blessed and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Just stay in line for a minute, Dr. Ferguson.
What's that?
Stay in line for me a second.
Okay. And those of you in our listening audience on the internet, have a blessed day.